All right. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Kate Mueller. I am the Chief Product Owl and resident cheesemonger here at KnowledgeOwl. I do a little bit of everything here. So I write a lot of our documentation. I do most of our QA testing on new features, feature enhancements, and particularly complicated bugs. I write for our blog and manage our guest blogger program and a whole bunch of other things as well. So if you're juggling documentation amid other job roles, welcome. You're in good company. And this week, we're kind of continuing our series of how to keep things up to date. So last Wisdom Wednesday, I talked about some of the features I use to kind of keep our content up to date. And to me, natural follow-on to that is how to keep images up to date. Files generally, but particularly images. Since I know a lot of us use screenshots or videos in our content, and trying to manage that can seem like a job all by itself. So it seemed like it made sense to talk through this a little bit. I think what I'm going to do today is kind of walk you through the steps that I use and why I use them the way that I do. And then if we have time, talk about some other things you can do that I don't do, but probably should. So hopefully we can cover all that ground, but we'll see how it goes. So maybe to start off with, let's talk a little bit about how I add files into our knowledge base to begin with. I think for images in particular, I'm going to do a new article here. Don't mind me, Mary Beth. I'm just adding live content to our support knowledge base.
I do it all the time.
I will publish it. That'll be fine. I think one of the instincts a lot of us have as we are adding content in, so I'm going to put in some dummy text here for a moment. And if you go to add in an image, I think sometimes what we like to do is to try to copy and paste images in. So I've got a screenshot here. And if I dump that screenshot in, seems like it comes in fine. Every screenshot or file in general that you add into KnowledgeOwl, once you add it into an article, it gets saved into your file library. So a lot of what we're talking about today will have to do with that file library. But the one sort of problem with pasting an image in is that when you paste it in, our editor doesn't really know what to do with that. And so it will give it the sort of like random ID as the file name. Which you probably don't care about and don't notice if all you've ever done is touch images in the editor. But if you work in the file library, let me save this. What happens is that this file comes in with that totally nonsensical name, and that nonsensical name becomes part of the URL for the underlying file. That URL is not editable ever. So you will be stuck with the URL that has a nonsensical ID. You can come in and edit the file name itself. So what am I working in here? This is merge code, drop down, which will at least update the name to be something a little bit more meaningful. It will not change the URL. And the main reason we do that is so that if you do edit the file name, all of the places that reference that file will still work because the URL is what we use behind the scenes in the code view. And so we don't want to make that editable because we don't want to break all of the links to that file just because you changed the name on it. So this is certainly not a requirement, but it is my step number one is that I never copy paste images in if I can at all avoid it. I will always drop a new image in and drop a named image in. And when you do that, what actually gets saved behind the scenes is that whatever the name your file was when you uploaded it, and that is also what gets saved in the file library view. So you can save yourself a little bit of headache on the auditing images front just by uploading named files instead of copying and pasting them in, even though I know copying and pasting is way faster. And part of the reason why I use this as a process, whoa, this is huge. Let's make you smaller. Is because I adopt a particular naming convention with our screenshots. So you'll see This is the one I made up along the way. I'll get rid of that. But a lot of these have a particular format, like style, settings, and then some stuff happening, or homepage, blah, 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 blah. I use naming conventions in my files to make it easy to find them and update them when we make changes to KnowledgeOwl as a product. So for example, if we make changes to our style settings page, which is where you can control your entire theme, because I've used named files and I follow a naming convention, I can actually run a search and find pretty much every file, every screenshot I've got that references that settings styles page. And the reason that this is so meaningful is that if you upload new images every single time you're editing content, great for you, but you've probably got a ton of images in your file library. And one of the things I like to do is to reuse images. If I've already taken a screenshot somewhere that works for this, I don't want to go take a new screenshot. I want to add something that I've already got from my library. So instead of inserting a new thing by dropping it or copying and pasting it in or whatever, I can add from library and then I can search for what I'm looking for. So let's say I'm still doing style settings things. Let's say I want to do something with this template. This allows you to reuse screenshots or files that you've already got in your file library. Odds are pretty good that you've got a wide range of stuff there, and inserting from library does a few things. It means that you're not creating potentially duplicate images, which is helpful. It also means that when you search for stuff in the file library, if you've been using named files, you're going to have less confusion because you won't have a whole bunch of things that are exactly identically named. They should be a little bit different. But more importantly, if I then, let's say we update some part of this interface and I want to be able to update this screenshot accordingly. One option would be to come into every single article that has that and upload a new image there. Please don't do that. Please save yourself the time. The other option is to come into the file library and say, oh, I want to edit this file. You can upload a new file that has whatever the new screenshot is. I'm going to grab this other style settings thing I have. You can tell it what file you want to replace it with. Once it uploads, you'll see that the new file that you uploaded in the lower left, it'll tell you roughly how big it is. At this point, once you save file, this updates the file in the file library itself, which means that every article or category that is referencing this file, this page always goes slow when I'm sharing my screen. Every article or category that you have that is referencing this file will automatically be updated with that new file. You don't have to edit the content. You don't have to even go back and like read through it. Any place that this is used will be updated. So let me refresh this. Watch, I picked a screenshot that's exactly identical to the other one. So this is a terrible example, Kate. All right, let's pick something that has nothing to do with style settings, so it'll be really obvious that we updated the file. Zoom screen share just kills this little thinking icon. There we go. Let me do a hard refresh here so that we get it. So my file has now updated on the back end. And if I come out here and refresh, I really do want to reload, I promise. I did not have this file inserted in here. What am I doing? Uploading willy-nilly. Fine, I'll upload. Oh, because these are exactly named the same way. See, this is why naming conventions matter. Because I never actually saved this article after I put that image in. Strong work, Kate. There we go. And there's my updated file. Holy moly, that was a terrible example. But I didn't actually have to touch this content at all because the URL was in the code view. All I had to do is update file library with that new screenshot and it will automatically cascade to all of the places. It can take a couple minutes. You might have to do a hard refresh to see it. The way that we have the caching set up on these files is that they are not allowed to cache for longer than 10 minutes. So if somebody views this right now, they might see the older image for the next 10 minutes, unless they do a hard refresh or until that 10-minute window expires in their browser, and then they will pull in the new file. It's a pretty fast turnaround time. And it allows you to do something like, okay, we made a massive change. Let's not use style settings. Let's use something with the widget. We made a massive change to the widget interface. Since I've got all these things consistently named, I can actually really quickly browse through here and see, okay, I think I've got about, let's see, this whole first row, and also these first two are very much the user interface on our widget directly in the app. I can come in, take new screenshots for that, and then like edit each of these to add the new screenshot in before I ever go look at my content. Or I could do the content edits first and then come in and do the screenshots. You can work it either way. You're not tied to any one way, but leverage that file library to your advantage. Try to get in the habit of inserting images from file library when you can, and then when you have to update them in the file library rather than totally uploading a new one directly in the article. This can be a great way to like massively update screenshots all across your knowledge base. So in my case, you'll see I have, I generally try to do something that's like the menu options we have to drill into the layers to figure out where the screenshot is. And then I provide a descriptive label after that, which is hard to see because some of these are really, really long. That's a personal preference. You can do whatever you want there. I just do it because it makes searching on this page really easy. And it makes it a lot easier if I'm inserting a file out here for me to be able to search for it. It just encourages me to reuse those screenshots, basically. I can be like, oh, do I already have something that kind of talks about this? Maybe, maybe not. And if I don't, then it's a great time for me to grab a new screenshot and upload it. If I do, then I can encourage myself to reuse content I already have, do it, make those updates, and have them go live. That is at its core the process I use here. It's a little bit different for things like I'm staging changes. So we have a release going out tonight. Spoiler, we have a release going out tonight. And I worked on documentation for that release in advance. Which meant that I created new versions for, hold on, let me see. I created new versions for some of that content. So I'm like really ready to go. I can activate those new versions in bulk. Once we release the new thing, all of my stuff will be out. In that case, I have not gone through and updated the file library because that would update my live screenshots and we're not quite ready for that. I have actually uploaded new files in that case. And I have made notes on the files the screenshots that will no longer be relevant, and I'll come back in and delete them once we get done. Or I'll update them to the new ones just to be sure that I've covered all my bases and all the places the screenshots could possibly be used. So that is the slight difference. There's not a good way to do something like versioning a file and then activating the new version. But that is a good case for swapping out files. The other option you have, let's say you do have a ton of stuff in here that was copy and pasted in. So it has a whole bunch of those IDs. And you looked at what I just said about editing the file name and having it not touch the URL. And you went, why would I bother doing that then? That doesn't really give me a whole lot other than making the labels more searchable, which it does make them more searchable when you're trying to insert files. The other option here is to use file labels. This is a practice I do not use, but I likely should. So do as I say, not as I do. If you are not familiar with file labels, they are basically the equivalent of tags in articles, except for files. So you can create any number of file labels that you want, and they serve on the file library page as a set of filters. That's pretty much all they are good for. We don't have a lot that's in here. I have apparently been a very terrible file label adder. Yeah. Okay, hold on. We will hop to KnowledgeOwl, which is our public website, where I do actively use file labels. And this works very similarly to editing a file in general. So you can come in, you can click a bunch of these and bulk label and add a label to them. You can also edit just an individual file to add a label to it. In this case, you'll see this file label section. You can create new files or new file labels and add them here. The only thing that those file labels do, nothing to the end user, nothing anywhere else within KnowledgeOwl, but they allow you to leverage these filters. So if you had a whole bunch of content that didn't have naming conventions on those files, and you wanted a way to quickly come in and say, oh, I want to see everything that has to do with, in this case, we're going to call it a brand asset, and it needs to be one of our Linuses. Linus is our mascot owl. If you've got that stuff labeled, then you can actually come in, filter by that label. Then you can still search within this. So I can come find myself. And that will pull things that have the either the label or the search term. So it can be a great way to kind of get at filtering down, narrowing down that list of files in a way that makes sense to you, even if you don't have naming conventions. The only trick with file labels is that the only place that you can add them to files is here in the file library. There's no way to do that when you are adding the file directly within the article editor. So it is an extra step in your content creation or uploading media process. But they're remarkably flexible. You can also head into the file label library. Whew, that's a hard one to say. And you can create a whole bunch of labels here for use. So if you wanted to like pre-create those labels so that they were available for your content creators to then come in and add to files, and you wanted to enforce naming conventions this way, you could do that as well. All right, I think that covers the main things I wanted to be sure I touched on. I am going to stop recording. So for those of you who are watching this recording later, thank you for being here.